Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Cancer energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Cancer, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Cancer. We all tap into Cancer energy and we have the free will to align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. But in order to do that, we kind of have to temper our more worldly, shadowy nature. And then, we can be as high level as we can at that stage of life. Like, the emotional maturity level and kind of the hope and faith and belief, kind of that would be typical of someone like being 15 or 18 or 21 or 25. We can be high vibe for how we're living our life. There might be other people way ahead of us, and there might be other people way below us. So it's just kind of relative. You could have people that maybe you are more tempered in your ego, have freed yourself from some more, shadowy ways of being, our shadow nature. Prideful, egotistical, bossy, controlling, lazy, want reward without effort, manipulative, just immature, right? And you could feel like some other people are kind of more immature or bossy or controlling. Those people in turn can find some people bossy and controlling and immature, right? So, and just because people could both be kind of moving forward in life differently doesn't mean people are still kind of on the same timeline or emotional maturity level. So that'll kind of come up in probably the reading. That's probably why I'm bringing that up. But because we have our dualistic nature and we have to make these decisions in our life, some people right now could be battling within themselves. They might like to do something a little differently, but the bottom row can represent our comfort zone. They'd have to step out of their comfort zone. They'd maybe have to, or you would have to, I don't know, maybe quit certain habits or patterns or vices. You have to kind of commit to a different path. If I'm not going to do this and I'm going to do that, well, then I can't do that anymore, Or if I'm not going to sit in these thoughts and emotions anymore, I need to replace those with different thoughts and emotions or activities, right? And so some people are debating, and while some people could be debating at this point in time, other people are moving forward. They finished the debate. Other people weren't even debating. They're just going to keep living their life the way they live it, and could be happy living their life the way they live it. Well, this is interesting. We have all these cards not showing themselves. And so that, to me, kind of has different interpretations. And, it can mean with some people, we don't know them well enough to know, is one way it could be read. Okay, let's see if we can work our way through it. Okay, the reason for the bottom rose reading is the Seven of Pentacles. And over here we have the Queen of Cups. Some people have a way of living life and people in their life that they could love, and things that they love, and ways of living life kind of that they love, and they kind of, that's the thing, right? We can have a hard time deciding to, after the Seven of Pentacles would be the Eight of Pentacles, we either keep moving forward with those people doing those things, and we keep moving forward doing that same thing. This would just continue on, but it would be kind of the same. And that's kind of what kind of shadowy energy can be. And it's kind of interesting because I view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio energy, emotional water sign of Scorpio, and this is Taurus, and those are both fixed sign energies, which can talk about when we've been in something. Those are kind of like, we have a certain philosophy of life, is what Taurus can talk about. We probably wouldn't be investing in a certain way of living life or viewing life or certain habits and all those things in people if we kind of didn't emotionally like those things, right? Well, that's kind of some of the emotional and earth sign energy we can tap into when we're in something. And then it can be hard for us to transition out. Whether it's like, well, I have a job. I'd really like this job to work out so I don't have to go get a different job. I hang out with these people. I really like to get along with these people because I don't want to have to go find different people to hang out with. The reason for the top rose reading is the Two of Swords, and it's the reason why the reading came out. Just like the Seven of Pentacles is the reason why the bottom rose reading came out. You know, we can get in situations in our life, and we could do it because we kind of think we have a similar philosophy of life, you know? And there could be things in common that we like doing together. But what if, and then the Two of Swords is Libra energy represented by the scales of justice, which can be kind of what we think is just and fair. What if over time, though, someone has kind of done some work within themselves, is what these cards not showing themselves can mean. And we can all invest in a certain phase of life and living our life a certain way. And of course, we wouldn't have lived our life that way if we didn't think it was just and fair. Just like the way we lived our life when we were 15, 18, 21, and 25, we did that because that's kind of was our philosophy of life and the stage of life we were at. And emotionally, we thought that was just and fair and we justified it. So we lived our life like that. And was it just and fair for us to live our life like that? Basically, because that's where we were at. And, you know, we had lessons to learn. And then anybody who is at the same time, age 15, 18, 21, or 25 with us, we could have all been on the spectrum of some people being much more shadowy, immature, prideful, bossy, controlling, lazy, and other people much more like high functioning in a way. Just because everybody's different, right? But we all were going through a phase of life, just like all of the people in the world right now are going through a phase of life. We live in this world at this time, and is it just and fair for us to be at this phase of life? Yes. Is everybody conducting themselves the same? No. And we're kind of looking for people who we might think are kind of more on the same page as us. And, you know, do you think this is just and fair? Do you think that's just and fair? What do you like to do? What do you like to invest your time, energy, and effort into? What's some of your ideas and philosophies of life? That kind of dictate the decisions we make. Because Taurus, that is the aspect of ourself. We do this debate within ourself, and it's in our Taurus energy that we kind of come to a conclusion. So our Taurus nature can kind of be like the Supreme Court in our head after we are different aspects of ourselves debated with each other. Well, we've decided to live our life this way. Well, we live our life at a certain phase of life. And hopefully during that phase of life, there was a lot of things we didn't know at any phase of life that we're at. And then it's kind of to learn those lessons in life. For some people. Because the Two of Swords with the blindfold on, you know, it can kind of talk about there's a lot of things we don't understand. There's a lot of things we don't see the truth about. There can be a lot of things we're manipulated by. You know, when we live our life in a certain way, other people could be like, why are they doing that? How do they possibly think that's just and fair? Or why aren't they seeing all these things that they don't see? Just like a parent to a child that they love. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, they keep doing these certain things that they think, you know, in their mind, they're living their life doing this. And other people could be watching them as like, you might think you're living more high vibe, but you have a lot of lessons you haven't learned yet. And, you know, and they could be living as high vibe as they kind of can live life at that time, right? But other people who might have already learned some of these lessons, and like people in the same age group, for example, uh, there might be things about you that I might like, but the Two of Swords also could be listening to your intuition. I don't think you've kind of learned some of these lessons that I've learned, and the Pentacles can be like all the different lessons that we've learned yet. And sadly, there can be some people who try to take advantage of people who they don't think have learned some of these lessons in life. And some people can be very loving, and other people think, I'm going to try to take advantage of that person. The feminine cards can just represent how people think and feel. The masculine cards can represent action that people are taking in the world. Women can do this to other women or men. Men can do this to other men or other men, depending on what kind of relationship they have. I don't think you've seen the truth about people like me. And there could be some shadowy people in the world who might know some people who they think look just and fair and loving. Male or female to male or female, whatever situation. Some of those people, but the bottom row can represent that people are kind of tipped out of balance in their ego, their lust, their greed, their pride, their stubbornness, their own immaturity or whatever. Some people aren't seeing people clearly. And there might be some people thinking, yeah, I think this person doesn't know the truth about me or people like me. I think I can go manipulate that person. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're not right. Some of the people who've already been in friendship and relationship with some people who were kind of shadowy, those people kind of came out the other side. They did kind of learn these lessons during the course of the relationship, and now they're listening to their intuition about other people who are like that. People who might present themselves as like stable, grounded, just, fair, balanced, loving people, right? Which is people in the world that we'd probably think we might want to be friends with or work for, go into business with, date, or marry. It's just that some of the people who really have learned some of these lessons, they did learn to listen to their intuition. And our intuition is one of the lessons we have to learn. And you could also look at the Pentacles as unique talent, skills, interests, and gifts that we've been given. But in the bottom row representing our more worldly, shadowy nature, which kind of represents our more prideful, egoic nature. How many times did we go invest in things and we ignored listening to our intuition? And that can be because in our more worldly, egoic nature, and these things we want to go invest in, that we are sure will make us happy and that we'll love doing, kind of influences us more because we're tipped more out of balance into being more caught up in these things of the world and ourself and these things we want to indulge in, than listening to our intuition. Well, hopefully, as we go on that journey in life to learn those lessons, hopefully we did learn some of these lessons. And hopefully now, even when we could meet people that we think seem like just, fair, balanced, stable, loving people, the Seven of Pentacles can talk about, I'm willing to get to know people, but I'm going to listen to my intuition. And I could have, the bottom row can kind of represent our fears, that I might have fear that some people present themselves as a just and fair and stable and grounded and loving person. But I'm going, be careful, the Seven of Pentacles can talk about, I'm going to be careful because of these lessons I've learned, about who I more invest my time, energy, and effort into. I can be kind of like a loving and encouraging person to pretty much anyone, right? People at the grocery store, people at work, people in my community, people in different organizations, but am I going to invest more in you to have like a new beginning, which would be like taking the Seven of Pentacles to the Eight of Pentacles, to have a new beginning that this goes beyond just staying like in a friend zone or an acquaintance. Like, I really would like to get to know you more, to hang out with you, if it's just a friendship thing, or even just to maybe be willing to open up a little bit more, right? And just like some of you have invested in some people where you've learned some valuable life lessons, other people, as you're kind of moving forward in your life, have went through similar experiences and learned some of those lessons. And the people who are kind of more shadowy, they're trying to see who they think has learned. It's like using their intuition in a shadowy way. Do I think I can manipulate that person? Do I think I can control that person? And if some of the more worldly, shadowy people are more about wanting to either make their life where I want to invest in someone who's loving, but I don't really want to be loving. I want to be tipped in favor, more of being more about me or these things of the world. And I want to be in a relationship with someone who maybe doesn't listen to their intuition, who might be more tipped out of balance, who is maybe really concerned about wanting to be in a relationship, have a job, be in a friendship, be in a relationship, be married, whatever it is. And that because they're more tipped in favor of being driven and motivated by those things, will stay in the job, friendship, or relationship and kind of turn their back on listening to their intuition. Who do I think that is? Because the shadowy, worldly people, they like to be in relationships with people who can be loving and nurturing and supportive, because we all do. It's a great environment to be around people who are loving and encouraging and supportive, and who are clueless about some of these shadowy people in the world at whatever stage of life they're at. That's where your intuition and getting more balance within yourself, because when we maintain balance within ourselves, when we start to kind of tip out of balance where we want to kind of indulge ourselves in poor behavior to therefore indulge other people in poor behavior, we get in a more imbalanced relationship, and we got some lessons to learn. Are we willing to, though I might like to go invest in something or someone, am I going to maintain balance within myself to keep kind of walking my truth in my philosophy of life, that it has to be just and fair and balanced? And if it's going to be like a romantic relationship, well, that should be because of love and not some other reason, lust or greed or ego. Because if we do, there's other people who are going to be happy that we do, because that's the kind of person they want to be in a relationship with, right? We have to make sure we maintain balance, and that if it's going to be a romantic relationship, it should be taking time to get to know each other, and then it should be because of love. And then love is to be just and fair. It's not kind of tipped out of balance, or one person is more indulged in the relationship and it's kind of more about them. It's supposed to be working together because you equally love each other and you want to have justice and balance in the relationship. And that's what some high vibe people could be looking at. You and other people. I've already been in a relationship with people who I could have loved. And in shadow, this could be read as some high vibe people could have gotten in relationships with some more worldly, shadowy people. And those people have their philosophy of life, and they want to keep doing life the way they want to do it, because they, of course, think that's just and fair. And the other people got in a relationship with them, and it's like, the high vibe people would think, well, I think everybody's motivated and inspired by love, aren't they? Doesn't everybody want that? The truth is, we have to accept in a world of duality that some people don't even want to do love. I get hurt doing love. I'd have to get out of my fear or my insecurity and get more balance within myself to even do love. And I'm kind of tipped out of balance where I don't want to do love. I get hurt doing love. I think I'll love these things of the world and love my job and me and all these things of the world. And I think I can be in a relationship and find some loving, nurturing people to be in a relationship that maybe don't require me to be more just and fair and balanced and authentic and loving. And so then the shadowy row, which can be the reason why the top row came out, is that some people were in a relationship with someone who kind of wants to live more from their mind than their heart and stay in denial of the truth that if you're going to be in a romantic relationship, it should be because of love. Well, can't we just stay in denial of that truth? I like you, you like me. It's like, yeah, but I'm authentically investing in love. I have tempered my more defensive nature, egoic nature, self-protective nature to authentically do love. And I would like to be in a relationship with someone who does that. And those people are like, well, I'm not doing that. And so that can be why some relationships have ended and why some relationships are ending right now. Because after being in a relationship with someone who kind of harnesses emotionally and in their philosophy of life of what they think is just and fair, wants to say, it can talk about wanting to repeat an old pattern. Let's keep doing this. And let's create the illusion it's love, but it's not really love. And sometimes you can, the same way it can kind of apply like in a job. You can have people who work at a job and they're uplifting and encouraging and just and fair people and they enjoy their job and, they like being there and they make the whole mood more uplifted. Other people might like working with those people, but they haven't quite learned some lessons yet. And they might repeat some old poor past patterns, maybe being a little stubborn, I don't know, aren't maybe so just and fair, a little bit more about themselves. They indulge themselves in thinking certain ways of acting or behaving is just and fair. And then they think other people should indulge them in that way. And they maybe really don't want to put in work and effort. Again, I want to work here and it's great being around you people, but I don't really want to put in more work and effort. How about you do it? And that's the thing, kind of wanting reward without effort. I want what people have who do put in work and effort to work together with people in a just and fair way, if it's work and friendship, or what people have who work together cooperatively from love. But I don't really want to do love, but I want those things. But I don't want to see the truth because the Eight of Pentacles that I mentioned, looking to the future, seeing the truth, in Eight of Pentacles and Virgo energy is doing some of this inner work about why don't I put in more work and effort? Why don't I maybe have more hope and faith and belief in myself or in others or in love? Why do I kind of repeat some of these old ways of being that kind of make other people wonder in the Two of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles if they really want me around and keep investing in me because they're not sure kind of if our truth is the same and what we think is just and fair is the same. Because I kind of keep showing them that, well, I don't really want to do it that way. That would be high vibe Taurus and high vibe Libra would be that you are who you say you are. You're not trying to manipulate people and create an illusion. You're more mature or more just or fair or balanced or loving than you really are. You really would be that. And you would be more balanced within yourself. And you would be more just and fair. And if it's romantic, you really do invest from love. Just like people have with other people in their life. And with some of those people in their life, it's like, wait a minute. doesn't seem like this is moving forward the way I thought it was going to move forward. And so it can be where some people are like, nope, I want to keep doing this. And then the Two of Swords can talk about that people feel stuck in a relationship. You know, you have a certain way of living life that you might not want to see how you keep repeating certain patterns or ways of being that really aren't conducive to this moving forward. Or you have other people in your life, or friends or family, or people that you make a priority in your life, or your job, or you, or whatever it is, or things you invest your time, energy, and effort into, that kind of keeps us repeating this old pattern. We never, high vibe energy can talk about giving birth to something new. Some people don't want to give birth to anything new. That would require them, in the bottom row, to kind of have to step out of their comfort zone. And some people are like, no, I want to do this, like forever. You know, I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't want to go do anything else. I don't want to look at life any differently. You know, I'm good. And that's fine. Everybody can live their life whatever way they want. It's just that other people then are kind of like, well, you might like this. But again, you know, if you get in a romantic relationship, you kind of think that you're going to create something unique that's taking both of you more into consideration, right? And some people are like, no, I like doing this. So it kind of gets to be where it's kind of more their way or the highway, right? And what happened to the working together? And that's kind of interesting because there's a maximum of 10 in every suit. And to get from the 7 to the 10 would be the Three of Pentacles. And the Three of Pentacles talks about working cooperatively together. And if we were to do that, we would get to the Ten of Pentacles. And the Ten of Pentacles can talk about closing out an old pattern. Learn the lessons we were meant to learn from a phase of life. Just like kind of getting to know each other. We went through that phase of life. Well, now, are we kind of going to go to the next phase of life? Just like if we hung out when we were 18 and now we're kind of becoming 21-year-olds, I want to face my fears of becoming more like a 21-year-old and kind of quit doing some of these 18-year-old stuff. Do you want to come with me? And that's when some people are like, no, I'm good. I'm going to keep doing this. And so it can be just like dating. Well, we did the dating thing. Now that we've gotten to know each other more, are we going to move it maybe to bring justice to the situation? It becomes a more deep, meaningful relationship or commitment. Or if it's a job, people promise people that you were going to put in work and effort, and then you were going to be able to take on more responsibility, and in the Eight of Pentacles, get paid more money. And then you work there, and then they're like, no, this is working for me. I think this is really good. And it's like, wait a minute, you know, do I like the job? Might I like the job? Yeah, but I was kind of given the impression, you know, there was going to be progression. You know, and same way in dating someone or being in a relationship with someone, I was expecting there to be progression, you know? And then you find out there's not going to be any progression here. And you know, we can go through many cycles with people where we can learn lessons, and we could kind of go through a stage where we're kind of in a comfort zone, and we go through that stage, we do learn some lessons, we go to the next phase, and then we kind of go through a comfort zone at that stage, you know? It's just not continually moving. It's kind of like building something, and that's kind of also what the Eight of Pentacles talks about. We're at one phase of life, and it's kind of like all these stepping stones that we're putting down. But to go is to build at that phase, and then it's to listen to our intuition that it's kind of ready to go to the next phase, because otherwise the bottom row can represent that it kind of becomes dead and stagnant. All of that, which... Now, let's look at the cards that aren't showing themselves. And you might have some people that you have love for, whether it's an adult child, a brother, a sister, a mom, a dad, someone at work that you like, or someone that you would like to be in a more romantic interest, or someone you are in a romantic interest with. But with some of those people, You could kind of realize that your truth is different. What you think is just and fair is different. Maybe some lessons that you've learned in life versus some lessons that some other people you feel seem to kind of be clueless about or don't want to learn those lessons and want you to keep staying in denial of the truth. With some people in our life, some people are doing this inner work and really thinking about, with some people in my life, do I want to keep investing in them or not? Because I've probably already done it. And, you know, it's not getting more balance. It keeps staying more out of balance or more about them or not working cooperatively together. So let's go see. We have the Three of Pentacles that we talked about over here. That's kind of funny. The Three of Pentacles, the Page of Wands, the Death card, the Justice card, the Seven of Cups, and the Hierophant, which is also Taurus energy. You know, it's kind of like growing up in our philosophy. When we complete a cycle, you know, we kind of, in the process of being at some phase of life that we're at, you know, kind of as we're working through it, we're kind of not visibly to everyone else in the world. Just like if you started a job, right? Yes, other people can see you putting in work and effort at your job, right? But kind of internally, you have to work through some of your own fears, your own insecurities. You know, because in the Death card, you can sabotage yourself and kind of get to where you have maybe a harder time in the Justice card, which is also Libra energy, of either learning it or believing you deserve it or changing maybe, you know, because we've all probably worked somewhere else, just like we've been in other friendships or relationships, and we kind of have a certain way that we're kind of used to, right? We had these different friends that we've had in our life. We've had different jobs in our life. And we are that's kind of our comfort zone, right? And there can be a part of us that's like, well, this is different. And that's what the Death card can talk about too. That is like, well, this isn't quite like that. And so, you know, I am having to learn new things. The Seven of Cups can be as kind of confusing. And I have to work through my fears of thinking I believe I can do it. And though I might have hung out with people who were like this, or I might have had these type of friendships or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know, we kind of have to work through our fears of believing that we can succeed and overcome some of our fears and insecurities as we go to, again, maintain that balance within ourselves, that this, in the Seven of Cups, it can be different. And that can be a little confusing, or we're learning new things, you know, and we're trying to not repeat old patterns. And there might be a reason why, if we were in a different job, friendship, or relationship, there could be a reason why we had left that, right? Because we felt stuck for some reason. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But as we move forward in something new, you know, we kind of got to do this work within ourselves, not to give up on ourselves, because otherwise we'll repeat an old pattern. It's like, oh, I don't love and believe in myself, and I don't believe I can do this. I should just go get a different job and let this opportunity go by. But it would seem to imply, reading it from this perspective, that if we keep indulging ourselves and our more immature nature, we won't really grow and mature ourselves to the degree that we could. So we keep moving forward, having hope and faith and belief in ourselves, working through our fears and insecurities, loving ourselves, because we don't want to go back and repeat an old pattern. And so then maybe when we do that, from the Three of Pentacles here and getting to the Six of Pentacles over here, in our Three of Pentacles and in our Page of Wands, we're inspired to work with some people in some regard because we didn't want to work with some other people. So we're looking for another person who's inspired in their Three of Pentacles for us to work with. That would be like the Six of Pentacles, and then to have this new beginning in the Seven of Pentacles, so it's kind of like getting to know other people, starting a new job, whatever, just doing this work within yourself, and maybe even just to feel more grounded, stable, and balanced within yourself, and taking that time, listening to your intuition. If it is new job, friendship, relationship, people you're meeting, whatever, new neighborhood, moved, whatever, it's all doing this work just to get kind of like the foundation laid, to kind of find out who's more just and fair, who's not, who's more immature, who's more creates an illusion, who's more intimidating and controlling, who's full of themselves, whatever, and finding out the lay of the land, working with these different people, but then maybe trying to figure out who do I think is more on the same page as me, just like when we go out in the world at those different ages of life that we can meet other 18-year-olds and 21-year-olds, for example, when we were 18 and 21, but who seems to be kind of more on the same page as me, because it's the whole spectrum, and what do you like? Are you more immature? Yeah, no, I don't. If you're more immature, been there, done that, and that could be why I quit some relationships with some other people. I'm kind of looking for some people who I might think have kind of grown up and matured themselves a little bit more, are a little more just or fair, and to each their own, right? Or likes to invest their time. More shadowy people turn their back on more hopeful, believing, loving nature people who might act with a little more character and integrity. It's like, no way, man. I'm looking for the people who want to go invest in this. That's what I think is just and fair and how I want to live my life. So, in tarot, you can read it from all these different perspectives, because just like you're kind of looking at it from your perspective, other people are looking at it theirs. The people who are more worldly natured, they are more harnessing these energies in a shadowy way. And they think it's just and fair. They're more caught up in themselves or the illusion of the world or status, ego, image, money, and materialism. And they kind of don't maybe have hope and faith and belief to listen to their intuition that if they were to free themselves of being so manipulated by their fear or their ego or it having to be about themselves, they could really manifest maybe their dreams into reality. But a more shadowy view of life can be as like, I'm not going to listen to my intuition. I got to work with these things of the world. That's how I'm going to manifest my dream into reality. And so then, it's kind of making these things of the world more important. Who has what? Would you be good for my ego and my image and my status? How much money do you have? How well do I think you're going to do in the world? Because really, that's kind of the most important thing. Because also shadowy Scorpio, which both the Death card and the Seven of Cups is Scorpio. The truth is, some people are more emotionally shallow and superficial, and then it can be, I'm kind of immature. And I kind of align with my more immature worldly nature, and I kind of think life is just about death, sex, and taxes, and I might have a lot of lessons to learn in life, and I kind of feel like, I'm going to have sex with someone in a relationship, and I don't really want to invest in high vibe energy of love. For some reason, I could have left that aspect of myself a long time ago. And I'm much more about me, it being about me, and it has to be about me, and more about me, or it has to be more about the status or image, or both. Or I like to be intimidating and controlling, I like to be bossy, stubborn, immature. I need to find someone who will indulge me being that way in a relationship. For those people, they have their way of living life. They're looking for someone who will either views life that same way, is more about the status, ego, and image, likes to go indulge in the things they like to go indulge in that they think is like living the dream life, or they're looking for someone who they think has that hopeful, believing spirit that will not require things to be just and fair, kind of concede, kind of thinking, oh, I'm sure they'll grow up. Oh, I'm sure they'll quit being bossy and controlling. Oh, I'm sure they'll quit being more about themselves or the ego or the image or these things they indulge in. I'm sure eventually they're going to pop out and grow up. Well, we can always hope that with people, but that could be us before, when we were wanting to stay in denial of the truth, that we got in some more mismatched relationships. But we had that hopeful, believing spirit. And we'll learn a lot of valuable lessons in life going on those kind of journeys. But eventually, we might not want to keep investing in it, because we did have that hopeful, believing spirit. And we hoped as time, people would maybe work through some ways of viewing life that they thought was kind of just and fair. And we were hoping they would be inspired within themselves to put an end to that way of viewing life and maybe start to be more inspired to listen to their intuition and love to guide the decisions they make. And in some ways, during a course of a friendship or relationship with people, in some ways they could have. But then we get down to this core philosophy of what our truth is and what we think is just and fair. And we can't. There's a lot of things we could have learned. There could have been some immature ways people quit being. Everybody could have kind of grown up and matured themselves to different degrees in a relationship dynamic, work or otherwise. But eventually it kind of gets to be, what is your truth at like a core foundational level? That's where we get to. What do you ultimately think is just and fair? Why do you want to be in this job? Is it more for the money, the status, the image, or do you like this job? And are you kind of inspired within yourself to be one of the people who tries to inspire other people to be inspired to work here? And be more balanced within yourself and grow up and mature yourself? Or are you going to keep staying someone that we all have to try to encourage to kind of be inspired within yourself to do that, and you keep showing us you're not inspired within yourself to do that? And the same thing ends up happening in relationships. We can work through a lot of things, but eventually it's like, are you inspired within yourself to really put in work and effort to go to the next phase, or are you not? And then the other people who do want to can have a hard time at the thought of detaching from it, because there's a lot of things they do like about it. For some people, they have a hard time because they could be to a degree in a relationship with someone who would maybe never end the relationship with them. And I guess some people kind of really have to wonder, but they could maybe kind of feel like they're immature. And it's kind of like, or codependent, Like, I really don't think, or that we kind of look at life differently, and kind of some of the lessons I've learned in life is kind of much different than some of the lessons you've learned in life. And I don't even know if you have an interest, just all these differences. And then for some people, it's just hard to emotionally let go. If there has been some people in our life who aren't in our life anymore, either because those people moved away or passed away, or those people were like I want to do life like this. If you want to keep doing this, then I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. This is my truth. And if you don't want to do this, then you can go. And sometimes when people do that, it's hard for us to wrap our brain around it, but sometimes those people are being stubborn and prideful, and it's a manipulation tactic. And then people feel confused that someone who I thought would be more just and fair and act with character and integrity is trying to manipulate me. I don't think that's just and fair. I might have already known, but I hadn't wanted to see the truth, that some of these people are kind of immature and full of themselves and do think they should kind of be indulged in a relationship. And I don't think that's just and fair. And so as people kind of go through it, it's like, what is my truth? I thought people were supposed to be motivated and inspired by love, to be more just and fair, to maybe work through their own more immature nature or fearful nature or bossy nature or more about themselves nature, to be more just and fair. And maybe, shadowy energy can also be, you get up in your head and your fear and your insecurity or your jealousy or caught up in the illusion of the world and your lust and your greed or whatever. Just thinking someone was more balanced. And then it's like maybe feeling like, oh my gosh, this person in the death card is not who I thought they were. But I kind of bought into the illusion of who some of these people were. Well, do I want to keep investing in people who I think are being immature or manipulative or intimidating or controlling or bossy or might want to be in a relationship with me, but I feel like in a more shadowy Scorpio, it's more superficial and shallow? Where high vibe Scorpio would be, I don't want to be in more immature relationships. I want to be in more emotionally mature, deep, meaningful relationships. Grow up, high vibe Libra, high vibe Taurus, high vibe, done with immature games or immature relationships. Well, in order to do all that and detach from some people in our life, and with the people in our life who keep kind of going on this adventure with us, and they choose not to be more bossy, controlling, stubborn, intimidating, unjust, unfair, they kind of keep moving forward with us, and we work through these issues together. And with some of the people, we keep moving forward with it. It's just that at different times in our life, we have to maybe stop and consider, who more am I going to invest more of my time, energy, and effort into, which is what the Pentacles can talk about, versus others. So same way employees and employers can decide that kind of periodically with different people in their life, depending on how those people had been acting versus how they're acting now. The same thing happens in friendship groups and family dynamics and romantic relationships. And some people do think it is all this trying to cheat the justice system. Like, I want to get in something, but I don't know, maybe part of something that could entertain people is like, I want to see how much I can get away with. Mental fuckery, basically. I don't even know why anybody would waste their time doing that, but, sometimes you got to wonder about people. And it's like, well, I want to see how much I can get away with, that maybe if I get in a relationship, and then they'll just do all the work and effort, and then I can be just kind of more immature or whatever. Well, then they weren't really who they said they were anyway. They weren't motivated within themselves to really be someone who holds himself to a higher standard and interested in continuing to grow and mature. It's like, no, I want you to put in more of the work and effort to bring balance and maintain balance in the relationship and maybe be more loving and encouraging. So, one person maybe could put more work and effort and have more status or money or whatever. The other person could be like the person who puts in more work and effort in other things. And so long as it's kind of mutual, well, this could be my strength and what I bring to the table, and that could be your strength and what you bring to the table, and together, we have this good workplace balance, friendship dynamic, or relationship or marriage. So long as everybody respects what each other brings, their contribution to the whole. But in high vibe, it is also supposed to be motivated and inspired by love. And I think it's kind of more immature people who really weren't motivated and inspired by love who want to see if they can cheat the justice system. And some people were, and some people are, in just and fair and loving friendships and relationships. But it's kind of not really the truth of who they are or the truth of who they were if this already happened. And it did require them to be more just and fair and balanced and act with more character and integrity than they really like. And they did or are deciding to end a relationship because they don't want to keep moving forward, investing in that. They want to go back here and repeat an old pattern. And it could even be fear. Well, I'm afraid. You seem to look at life differently. You seem to be growing or maturing or healing. You seem to not be as interested in doing some of these things I want to do. And, it's kind of like we're on different pages. You go be with somebody who wants to go do that, and I want to go do this, And then there can be people, too, who could have moved forward in something, but again, maybe over time, is kind of realizing, wait, this isn't what I thought it was. And, the people I got in a relationship with or the workplace, I kind of see that they kind of have these illusions. And yeah, I'm going to let them go, and I'm going to take some time to regroup and love and believe in myself. And this isn't the group or the workplace or whatever for me to keep moving forward with. So I know there's a lot of stories, but the whole thing is, we probably know a lot of different people, and within ourselves, we've been at these different stages. And, it's trying to listen to our intuition again about, we've been at those stages where we had to listen to our truth not to move forward with something. Other people can be at that stage in their life. The people that you know in your life who are more codependent, because high vibe energy is being more independent, who's more codependent on like their friend group or their original family group or the world or their ego, or they indulge a more immature way of thinking, logic, and reasoning, or more materialistically motivated, more self-motivated, odds are those people will not be changing anytime soon. Some of the people who have kind of more grown up and matured themselves are kind of inspired to want to not keep repeating certain patterns. Those people could maybe put work into trying to free themselves from things that manipulate them. But the more stubborn, the more prideful, the more emotionally shallow, superficial, they're going to keep doing what they do, And it's to listen to your intuition about who's who, which is what some people are doing. And it's like, I'm not going to invest more time, energy, and effort into friendships or relationships or workplaces with people who I think seem to want to stay in denial of the truth. They like to present themselves. That's like the Seven of Cups can be like trying to create this illusion. And there can be a lot of people in the world who buy into the illusion of who they are. They could try to present themselves as these just and fair, stable, grounded, pillar of society people. But you know them. You know that's not who they are. And it's just for other people who are going to invest in them, for those people to eventually see through the illusion. And when those people really being more immature, who don't want to see the truth, and they think, well, no, I just have to look like and act like I'm this type of person. But because I have that image or reputation, then I can get away with, I think, these immature things. It's like, you might with some people, but I saw through the illusion and I'm leaving. And that's when some of those people really put in a lot of work and effort to try to make not other people confused about the truth of who you are, because they have this certain image that they want to maintain, and part of the reason is because that is what they have to offer people, because they're really not more emotionally balanced and just and fair and loving. They're more about themselves and the ego and the image and wanting to kind of indulge themselves in a relationship, and they have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. So of course they don't want people to view you, or people who move on from them, as a just and fair person, because that's what they use to try to get people to get in a relationship with them. And that might work for quite a while, but you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And as they kind of keep repeating certain ways of being and patterns, and other people aren't repeating those certain patterns and ways of being, eventually other people see through the illusion of those people. And it's like, wait a minute. I think you tried to confuse me about the truth of who is more the loving, just, fair, and encouraging person in this situation. And then other people are thinking, and I don't think it's you, the more worldly, shadowy people. In the meantime, while other people are having to decide that for themselves, some other people did leave behind some worldly, shadowy people or employers. They listened to their intuition and they moved on. Other people are doing that right now. And as those people move forward, they're having to work through not wanting to repeat this pattern. I learned some valuable lessons from that life experience. I'm going to take those lessons with me. And one of the big ones I learned is not to get more caught up in the worldly presentation of people, because people can look very solid, stable, just, fair, loving, nurturing, but they're not. It's just an illusion they create for some of them. And some of them might kind of be like that, but they might, I just got to get to know them enough to see if, are they more immature? Are they more stubborn? Are they more bossy? Are they kind of cold? Are they whatever, and just to see who I more want to invest time, energy, and effort into. And while I know who I don't want to be in a relationship with, and as some people were offering love to the old situation to heal, because love is the answer, they could have also communicated with some other people that I'm not invested, or I'm going to leave this job, friendship, or relationship, or whatever, some of them. But just energetically, they're doing this work within themselves, and they probably are, as they're not investing in something else. Kind of communicating in the Page of Wands can be small offers to get to know people. Some of the people are like, no, sorry, I'm already in my friendship group, or we're not hiring, or I'm already in a relationship, or whatever. They're not interested. And you might meet other people who are kind of on the same page as you, that you kind of befriend and get to know and move forward with. Let's go see what the people who are moving forward in life a little differently now are working through. So shadowy people can be where they try to create this illusion. No, I'm this just and fair and loving person. You should invest in me. And then there's authentically people who are just and fair and loving, who are saying you should invest in me. And you have to listen to your intuition about who's really more immature and just creating an illusion. Are they more aligned with their worldly, immature, or shadowy nature? Or are they more tipped in favor of their more hopeful, believing, loving nature? But the shadowy people, because they're kind of shadowy, it can, again, be people who they just live more from their mind than their heart. And they think this is what everyone does. everybody is just kind of creating an illusion. Everybody's out for how it benefits them, wanting to be in certain jobs, friendships, or relationships more out of their own self-interest or because of these reasons of the world. And they think that way because that is how they think, and we tend to think people think like we think, right? But what they don't understand, just like we had a hard time accepting the truth of it, that there's people like that in the world, and we had to learn that hard lesson, that there is people in the world who are like that, and it really is always just more about them, because they don't really do love. Using their emotions manipulatively, and their sexuality, and their words, and their charm, and their money, or their social clout, or whatever. They use all those things in a manipulative way, not in a just and fair way. Trying to cheat the justice system. And then there's other people who really are aligned with their hopeful, believing, loving nature. And the shadowy people can see that the high vibe people seem to have justice in the world, seem to be balanced within themselves. Shadowy energy, because in a world of duality, we have more hopeful, believing energy in the world that we can align with, more shadowy energy that we can align with. And so at the big picture, we kind of refer to those as God and the devil. Those energies battle within, if you believe in God or the devil, it doesn't matter. We just live in a world of duality where we have these conflicting pressures and choices because we have free will. And everybody has free will, and shadowy people do not want the just and fair people to get justice. The devil, your own shadow nature, your more immature worldly nature, is battling with your own more hopeful, believing, loving nature. But there's also more shadowy people in the world that could not work together with you in a just and fair way because they know that you're more of a high vibe person. And because of that, they're not going to give you justice. I'm not going to work together with you in a more just and fair and balanced way. Because I don't like that you detach from your more immature worldly nature to be more just and fair and act with more character and integrity. And I know you want these just and fair relationships, and I'm not going to give that to you. I will not be one of the people. And the high vibe people, it's like, I see that. And, I don't need you to work together with me in that way. I can go live my life without you. And I think when there's shadowy people around, there's also more just and fair and loving people. And if it's kind of more of a majority rules in a social situation or a workplace, eventually I'm going to see the truth of it and I'm going to move away. And if somebody's creating a little hell on earth, I'm going to go find the people who are creating a little heaven on earth. Because I believe not everybody's the same, and I've seen the truth of you. So I'm going to leave there and I'm going to go find people who are more just and fair. And the reason they don't get it in a way is because they keep letting things manipulate them and let people manipulate them and kind of get caught up in those games, not willing to become independent of those things to get the justice they deserve. You are willing to stand up for your truth, and they weren't, and so they have a lot of things within them and in their life and people that manipulate them because they're not willing to kind of walk their talk and live their truth, that when other people don't act in a more just and fair and authentic and loving way, they are willing to distance themselves and become independent of them, and they're not willing to do it. So they could think you're just creating an illusion, and they could just think you're creating a better illusion maybe than they are. But you're not creating an illusion. You are who you say you are. You have done this work within yourself, which they don't do. They do not work with their more hopeful, believing nature to emotionally detach from being more caught up in being more about themselves or these things of the world to get more balance within themselves, to work through their fears and their insecurities and their past pain and heartbreak or being full of themselves. But you did. So they're going to try to create the illusion that they're like you and you're going to be the real deal. And what are you doing? You're doing this work within yourself to, and probably for some of you, you've already done it, where you've detached from harnessing these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way, and you detach from the people in your life who harness those energies in a more worldly, shadowy way, that at one time you kind of aligned with them, maybe in that viewpoint in life or way of looking at life. And now you're harnessing those energies in a more high vibe way. And that's what other people don't realize. Some people. Ten of Pentacles in reverse. The Eight of Swords. The Eight of Wands and the Nine of Wands. So, in the Ten of Pentacles in reverse, you could have felt at one time much more unstable within yourself or willing to be in much more kind of imbalanced relationships. Kind of makes me think of like an empath narcissist paradigm in a way. You know, if you're a very loving person and you think everybody's motivated and inspired ultimately by love, and you really like love and you like being in relationship, doesn't mean you have to be ooey and gooey with everyone, but the people who you do like being in relationships with and enjoy, you really like to be in kind of a loving, happy, nurturing relationship. And that can make you very much out of balance in the sense that you get in relationships with people who are happy you're very loving and nurturing, kind of extremely, with people in a relationship, and then they can be people who don't know if they really want to invest in love. You know, it's like the opposite. And you also could just, like everybody in the world for the first 30 to 50 years of your life, much more caught up in the world, wanting to invest in these things of the world that we think will make us happy. All those different lessons we had to learn, right? And you had to work through of detaching emotionally from your more worldly nature and indulging your more immature worldly nature if you wanted your dream to come into reality. I have to invest in my truth and stand up for my truth because the other people, whether they kind of say it or not, are invested in their truth. And if their truth is they don't know if they really want to do love, well, I got to see the truth that not everybody does. And if I don't want to be in a relationship with people who really aren't more motivated and inspired to do love, but would like to be in a relationship and stay in a relationship, and they want me to stay in it, but I feel it's kind of more emotionally shallow and superficial and more for the ego and the image, I have got to be willing to let go of that more worldly philosophy of life. Or I'll keep getting in relationships with people who are happy I'm still kind of invested in that more worldly view of life. So you emotionally detach from that philosophy. That's not your philosophy anymore. Even though you could have been up in your head about moving forward and standing up for yourself, you listen to your intuition. And then in the Eight of Wands and the Nine of Wands of Sagittarius energy, it talks about being fired up and inspired to kind of wrap your brain around this game of life. I don't want to be kind of like in an upside down reality, which is kind of seeing through the illusion of the world. There's a lot of people in the world who want to tell us, you should invest in this, and you should act like this, and you should wear this. That makes you seem valuable and important. And you should talk to these people and not those people. And it's all just bullshit. How about I go out in the world and I treat other people the way I like to be treated, and I know my own worth and value, and I don't think it's what I wear or what I drive or what I look like or how much money. I mean, you know, I'm just going to treat people the way I like to be treated in a just and fair, authentic, loving, and encouraging way. And who wants to move forward with me in that way and work together with me in a just and fair manner. And we have some people in our life who are moving forward with us in that way. And some people or groups of people we detach from. Workplaces, families, people we thought had wanted to invest in long term, people we could have invested in long term. Their truth is different. And as you invest in listening to your intuition, you over time get out of being up in your head about it because you're more inspired to stay focused on truth and love. And then from the Eight of Swords down to the Two of Swords, you let go of the Six of Swords. You work through it. That there was people in my life, and I had ways of living life at one time that I thought was like living the dream life, because the Six of Swords is Aquarius energy, represented by the star, which can be about kind of these dreams we had and these things that we thought would make us happy. And we realized that my dream couldn't come into reality there because our truth and our philosophy of life and kind of what drives and motivates us is different. And I'm inspired in high vibe energy by truth and love and justice and fairness, and they might be more about themselves or the world, or just indulging themselves more in relationships and not doing deep, meaningful relationships. And as time goes by, you're able to let go of that old dream because you want the justice. And as you're living your truth, the other people are kind of living their truth. And each day they do that is another day that you keep seeing that your truth isn't the same and they're not who you thought they were. And, you know, you kind of work through the illusions that you had of people. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Cancer energy that they might not see coming? And other people in the world who are going through this and listening to their intuition. And as you're moving forward, when you quit investing more of your time, energy, and effort into people who aren't on the same page as you, it frees you up to meet other people in the world who could be open to your truth, you know? And as you move forward and other people move forward, you know, other people that have gone through situations like that are working through these things, and they've been wounded, and getting to know people and listening to their intuition about who should I keep having defensiveness to, kind of, and have my guard up to, and who are the people I want to stand up and defend. The Knight of Cups, the Page of Wands, the Moon, and the Tower, and the reason is because of the King of Pentacles. So, down here we have the Three of Pentacles, which is Capricorn energy, and I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. And shadowy Capricorn energy is represented by the Devil. High vibe people did the work to free themselves from things that weren't safe, secure, stable, grounded, and their own more immature worldly nature, because they wanted. The King of Pentacles can be male or female, but it's talking about, I want to free myself and grow up and mature myself. And I want to get to the truth, and I want to quit having things destabilize me or emotionally confuse me in the Moon card or manipulate me. So you decided to invest in the truth, and you know that love is the answer. So you offered love to yourself to deal with your own fears and insecurities about detaching from people in your life and your own more worldly nature and to listen to your intuition. And because of that, you detach from some people in your life who harness these energies in a more shadowy way. People who are more emotionally invested in the world, who do like to more indulge themselves in friendships, relationships, or workplaces, who create the illusion, I'm not selfish, I'm not more about myself, I'm not immature, I'm not more Do they take action in truth and love, or don't they? Are they authentically who they say they are, or is it just an illusion they create? And you listen to your intuition about who's who, and you detach from the people that your intuition tells you, I don't think that's their truth. And I have a dream, and my dream can only come into reality with people who are also willing to love themselves, be inspired to work through their fears and insecurities. That's like the Page of Wands and the Moon. And to free themselves from their fears and insecurities, or being in their pride or their ego, that sabotages relationships. And they keep moving forward with you like you keep moving forward with them, because there is truth and love and justice and fairness. And both people, or people in a group or a setting, all might have to start standing up more for what's just and fair, and quit indulging people who are kind of trying to use their loving nature to manipulate them. Oh, you wouldn't fire me. Oh, you're going to keep being my friend and putting up with me. And some people eventually might be like, no, not anymore. But also, there could be people who want to invest in you more, friend or romantic, or offer you a job, because they see the truth of who you are. And they might see the truth about some other people. So say if some people were out looking for a job. What's coming out for some people might harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy that they might not see coming. The Fool card and the Three of Wands. And the reason is because of the Four of Pentacles. What shadowy people don't see coming is that other people are willing to take a leap of faith to believe in themselves and believe in their dreams. And they hold back from continuing to keep indulging their more immature worldly nature, because they want to hold on to their more hopeful, believing, loving nature and the people in their life who are loving and encouraging and supportive of them. And some shadowy people can't understand that, because they kind of gave up on that maybe a long time ago. And they can't believe that other people maybe would put love ahead of status or ego or image, or being in a relationship where they could be indulged by someone. It's like being indulged by someone in a relationship that I don't maybe really like, or want to be in a relationship just because it's good for my ego and my image. I don't know that I want to stay in that. And some people, even if they were in that kind of relationship, are going to get out of it. Or if it had the status or the image, it's like, I think that's more the driving factor. Or other people want to be in a relationship with me for that reason. And I might consider being in a relationship with them because I fear listening to my intuition, because then, I'd have to let that more hopeful, believing, loving nature to listen to my intuition, to give up being in friendship or relationship more for those reasons, to listen to love to guide me and my intuition. But the people who've kind of learned to listen to their intuition, your intuition, like we've all been out in the world where sometimes our intuition was like, you shouldn't do that. This isn't a good idea. You should go home now. This is not going to work out the way you think. That's kind of like being here. But, we did it anyway. And that's what some of the more shadowy people are going to keep doing. Just got different lessons to learn, right? Shadowy, you haven't been kind of enlightened to some truths. High vibe is that other people have been enlightened to the truth, and they've maybe done that enough times already that it's like, nope, if there's something I could be interested in, but my more hopeful, believing, loving nature is kind of telling me, oh my God, I don't think this is going to turn out the way you think, I'm going to listen to it, and I'm not going to do it. But some other people haven't learned those lessons yet, so they're going to keep doing what they do. And some other people are also going to complete a phase of life, and they're going to detach from that phase of life, repeating certain patterns, and really think about moving forward in life differently, again, because they have a dream. And I don't want to keep repeating the same thing. And, I need to see through the illusion of kind of what tempts and manipulates me, or my fear or my insecurity, if I don't want to keep repeating the same pattern. And it can start with learning to love myself, working through my fears and my insecurities of being more independent, quit letting all these things kind of manipulate me, and invest in me and my truth to get balance within myself and love myself. That's like the Knight of Cups to the Page of Wands. And not maybe settle for less than I deserve or to compromise my truth. Because if I do, I'm not going to get what's aligned with my truth. And in High Vibe, the Knight of Pentacles is about investing in my truth. And I'm going to listen to my intuition, and I'm not going to stay stuck in two minds about it. I have made my decision and my truth. And the truth is, there are some things and people I will not be investing in anymore. And there are some people I will be continuing to invest in, and other people I might communicate with to get to know them more, to find out what their truth is. And the pages, again, can be a small gesture offer. Just get to know people. I'm curious to know. So some people have been thinking about making that gesture, but then they could keep not doing it. It can even be coworkers at work that are kind of a little more defensive, but there might be someone in their environment who seems like a just and fair and loving person, but it's like, oh, I don't know if I still trust you, and I don't know if I want. I mean, it's kind of weird, like, to think, but I think some people, it's just like, it can be like an ego pride thing. I don't want to be more friendly or nice or cooperative to you, and then if you are rude or unkind or unjust, then it's like they're mad at themselves. Instead of being proud of themselves that, hey, I acted with character and integrity. I don't have any control over you. And if you show me later that you're unjust, unfair, whatever, okay, thank you for letting me know you are not that person. I will move on from you. But depending on how we've been wounded before, kind of like having a sunburn, and some people have been more hurt and betrayed and wounded than other people, and they're still kind of maybe still not feeling more balanced within themselves, so they're more defensive to just willing to work a little more cooperatively with people. But some people, after sitting and kind of observing and listening to their intuition, and maybe even just watching other people and how they get along with other people, it's like, you know what, I think I'm willing to take the risk to kind of give a little bit more of myself to see if these people are who they are or if they're not. And maybe just feeling more stable within yourself and balanced within yourself or other people in relationship to you to see. And then you're gonna, it's just, I'm willing to get to know people, but yeah, I've been hurt and betrayed before by people too, and I'm not gonna indulge people, and I'm not gonna overgive, it has to maintain a balance and be just and fair. And if you start to slip into being kind of snarky or whatever, yeah, no, if I might still have to work with you, but I'm going to be more defensive. And some people might have shown you that, but you might, we can realize that some people are kind of more immature and more sunburnt, more defensive, and we can extend grace so long as it's just and fair. But if it kind of doesn't seem to be progressing, eventually it's like, okay, so I see the truth. You keep staying more immature and snarky or whatever. And you just invest your time and energy more into the people who are more on the same page as you. And some people who are more immature see that the high vibe people aren't caught up in the illusion of them, and they have moved on, and they don't want to be at that job or invest more in that friendship or that relationship or that marriage. And so the shadowy people are going to keep doing what they do, and they're going to go find someone else who they think maybe isn't balanced within themselves, is more caught up in the illusion of the world or them, doesn't know the truth about them, and they'll recreate this all over with someone else. And as you see some people do that, which might be some people you were kind of thinking, hey, are we on the same page? And as you see them repeat kind of that pattern with some of those people, you might just like, yep, apparently we're not on the same page. And you work through it, you get out of your ego about it, and you keep saying, like, hey, God, what you got planned for me? Because apparently I thought maybe that was it, but it wasn't. And God's like, yep, no, it wasn't. Good job. Way to listen to your intuition. Let's keep going. So, there you go, Cancer. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.